Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
And we are setting everything up. We have everything prepared, and now all we have to do is start the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And let me tell ya, ever since last weekend, there have been so many big news that just came out. Like, really, the anticipation of everything that I really want to talk about, I just had to, I had to keep it in until it was time to do the podcast, but now the time has finally come, and I am ready to go and really get into some really big news that happened this week. But with all that said, though, before I would even go and start on that, there are a couple of things that I would like to go and highlight. Now, first of all, this is something that you're probably a little bit familiar if you do follow me either on social media or especially if you watch my videos on YouTube, but this is a huge update, especially for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, in which it finally has its own YouTube channel. Yes, I pretty much decided to go and start off 2020 by completely creating an entirely new channel dedicated to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I will no longer be uploading the episodes onto my main YouTube channel, Electric Dragon 505, and instead, I will be posting them here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and I've dedicated some time to go and organize it all neatly, and even if you look down a little bit on the main page, I even categorize them by their release date, taking all the old videos from my main channel of all the previous episodes, and I've organized them all through the year that they have been released. So, like, I made an entire playlist for the 2018 episodes, which was the first year of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I made an entirety for 2019, and also I started off a brand new playlist dedicated to the 2020 ones. But it is not just going to be full episodes of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast that I will be uploading in here. At the same time, I will also be uploading highlights where I will be taking one story or one topic from each episode, and I will completely dedicate an entire video to just that. So, for example, in the last episode from last week of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I made a highlight video completely dedicated to this topic of Cats, the 2019 movie, and how that film became a massive disaster, how that film became a major box office bomb, and how it got removed from Universal's For Your Consideration list. So if you guys have not subscribed yet to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and if you want to go and follow it on YouTube, then go ahead and just subscribe and put on the notifications for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Even if you go onto my main channel, it's actually easy to go to navigate. Like, even on my main channel, it's easy to find. Like, you'll even find it on the side here from Awesome Channels. If you look onto the right side of my main YouTube page, it's right over here. Just on the right side, it says AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So I figured, you know what, since this is AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I might as well go and highlight this over here. But then again, there is also another thing I would like to go and highlight for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, or just want to take a moment to highlight over here, considering that for last weekend, I have mentioned how there was the conflict between Iran and Donald Trump, which really started off 2020 on the wrong foot. So from there, I decided, you know what, for this week, I might as well highlight this bit of news as well, considering that it is also a tragedy that does need a lot of attention and a lot of help as well. And what I'm talking about, of course, is regarding the Australian bushfires. Now, the bushfires are very common in Australia, but this year, for some reason, they have gotten extremely out of hand. It has been completely ridiculous and completely out of control. Unfortunately, it ended up causing many deaths to different animals like koalas and kangaroos, and especially for people as well. There have been some casualties caused by the bushfires, and also a lot of people lost their homes and even lost their towns by the bushfires. Now, as I stated before, they are common, but the reason why they are getting completely out of hand, it is mainly because of climate change and ignorant politicians who either deny climate change or are just doing absolutely nothing about it. So it is our job as the people to go and actually do something and try to help them out. Now, you might be wondering at this point, how can you go and actually help out to save the Australian people and the Australian animals from the crazy bushfires? Well, for that, there are many ways that you can do so. There are ways that you could go and this is just one example that I have up here. This is a GoFundMe page. You can go and donate as much as you can. If you look it up, there are plenty of other ways that you could donate, not just money, but also items, or you can even go as far and volunteer. That could actually be a major bonus. So I figured might as well go and also highlight this, considering that it is a serious issue, and this is definitely a country that totally needs our help and needs all the help that it can get. And by the way, just want to give a little question, by the way. Do you guys still hear me? Is everything still good with the podcast? Can you still hear me fine? Is everything all right? Because I know some people are saying that they are buffering. I just want to know. Okay, so, all right, people can still hear me. Good. All right, that's great. So, all right, so you heard about my message, you heard about AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast on YouTube, and also the Australian bushfires. So, now that I got both messages across, now that you guys can still hear me, everything's all good, so that's fine. Now, the only question is, though, are you all ready? Are you ready to really start things off with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Are we ready? Let me hear it, folks! All right, good. All right, it's nice to know that people can still hear me, that the connection is still good. All right, that's perfect. We're all set. We can start this off, and now we can officially to get this started. And with our first story that we have over here, actually for the first couple of stories, they are going to be related to news that actually happened last weekend. More specifically, that they did happen on Sunday. So I figured, you know what, even though it has technically been a week, might as well go and highlight that because they definitely are worth talking about. And the first of these stories that I would like to discuss is going to be about the Golden Globe Awards. Yes, it is official. The 2020 award season has officially begun with the Golden Globe Awards. Now, I know that when it comes to the Golden Globes, nobody necessarily really cares all that much. It's not necessarily that huge of a deal. And I mean, even like the celebrities who attend there, like even when people go to the Golden Globes, they knew that it's not that big of a deal. I mean, even with Ricky Gervais as the host, like he knows what he's doing, even though like he's trying to be as edgy and provocative and shocking with his humor and stuff like that. He knows it's because the Golden Globes is the place where you can do that because, well, nobody cares about the freaking Golden Globe Awards. It's the place where celebrities and filmmakers all get drunk and shoot crap at each other, you know? It's just Ricky Gervais going on stage going, I know that I am edgy and provocative, but I really don't care. In fact, I care as much about what I'm saying here, as much as what people think about the Golden Globes. So yes, I am edgy, and I could be bloody political as much as I want, but I really don't care. It's the Golden Globes. Everybody's drunk. Nobody's going to be remembering this anyways. So, with that said, The big thing, though, that people would actually care regarding the Golden Globes is regarding who won. Who are the big winners of this year's Golden Globes? Well, if there is one specific winner that is meant to be highlighted here, it would have to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, there are a variety of winners. There's everybody walking away with like a Golden Globe or two, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood managed to walk away with a total of 3 of them, in which it won for Best Picture for a musical or comedy, Best Supporting Actor for a musical or comedy for Brad Pitt, and also for Best Writing for Quentin Tarantino. At the same time, though, there are other movies as well that did get a couple of Golden Globes, including 1917, which won for Best Director and Best Picture for a Drama. There is Joker, which won for Best Original Score and won Best Actor in a Drama for Joaquin Phoenix. There is also Rocketman, which won for Best Actor for a musical or comedy for Taron Egerton, and also for Best Song for I'm Gonna Love Me Again. And then when you got the TV shows, there are a few notable ones where you got Chernobyl, Succession, and Fleabag, in which those ones actually won 2 Golden Globes each. But considering that this is AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, what we are going to be highlighting here is gonna be regarding Best Animated Film, because that's the big one where all the animation stuff is. I mean, technically there is also Best Original Song, where Into the Unknown from Frozen 2 is nominated, but again, it didn't win. The real winner of that is the Rocketman song, I'm Gonna Love Me Again. Now, for Best Animated Feature, I just have to say, it is probably the most unexpected winner of them all. Despite the fact that there was some heavy competition, and even Disney taking the grand majority of the nominations with 3 of them, with their big movies like Frozen 2, The Lion King remake, and Toy Story 4, the winner turned out to be none other than Laika's Missing Link. Where the fridge is it? I just need to find it. Yes, alright, here it is. Among all the nominees, from Frozen 2 to How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, The Lion King, and Toy Story 4, Missing Link ended up becoming the big winner. And if you guys have actually seen the Golden Globes, it was the most shocking moment. Nobody was ever expecting that, and even on social media, everyone was blowing their minds of the fact that Missing Link was the winner. And it's also funny to go and highlight that even the people who came forward and accepted the award, I think the director and writer Chris Butler was one of them who accepted it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, these people came in and they were like, am I supposed to be here? Why did I get this? Isn't this supposed to be like Disney's thing? Why am I taking this thing? Like, even they were, they did not expect it. They were unprepared. It was the most shocking thing ever. So, with all that said, I just need to go and take a moment to give my little opinion, my little piece about Missing Link being the big winner. Now, if I may go and express a little bit about my opinions on the movies of 2019, or more specifically the animated films of 2019, Missing Link, I would say that it is a good film, and it definitely is worth watching, and on top of that, I would even go as far and say that it definitely is the most underrated animated film of 2019. However, I wouldn't necessarily say that it would be the best animated film of 2019. Even for me, I do prefer many of the other animated films that have been nominated. You know, I do have more of a preference for movies like Frozen 2, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, and Toy Story 4. So, while Missing Link is a good film, I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite because there are a few flaws with it written-wise. Like, the animation is absolutely phenomenal, but in terms of the writing, it can be a little bit predictable, and it does take a bit of time for the characters to even be likable or to get used to them. So, that's the thing. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like a worst movie, but it's definitely far from something like Coraline or Kubo and the Two Strings. But at the same time, if I could be very honest, I could not be any more happier for Missing Link to be the winner amongst all of them. Because if you look at each of the nominations, you gotta realize that there is only one animated feature that is actually original. That is its own property. It is not an adaptation, and it is not a sequel. Because you look at every single one, like the grand majority of them are properties that already existed before. Like, you got 3 of them that are sequels. Like, you got the second Frozen film, you got the third How to Train Your Dragon movie, and you got the 4th Toy Story feature. And then you also got The Lion King, which is a full-on shot-to-shot remake of the animated film. So these are already movies that have established characters that everybody loves. That these are characters that everybody likes, enjoys, and they already have a bit of a set bias that people can either feel nostalgic for these characters or that they really did enjoy the previous feature, so they want to come back for seconds or thirds or whatever. But then you got Missing Link, which is its own original thing. This was a completely original movie and barely anyone saw it. Like, if you saw the total amount it did at the box office, I think it only made like $16 million, and that's it. It's a box office bomb. Barely anyone saw it, and that is mainly because it was released around the same time as Avengers Endgame. But then suddenly, this little original animated feature came out on top, beat the odds, and took down many of the big contenders, especially taking down Disney, in which it has 3 of them. Disney had 3 chances of winning Best Animated Feature, but it did not get it. That they already got like Frozen 2, they got Toy Story 4, they got The Lion King. Like, they were set for this, and these are some of the biggest animated films, not just of the year, but also ever. Like, you got The Lion King, that's the highest grossing animated feature, and then you already got, like, Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2 that have already surpassed $1 billion at the box office. And not to mention, you got How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, which it shouldn't be forgotten, considering that it is still a strong contender and even performed very well when it was released in theaters. Like, it did get a good amount of praise by critics, and also it did very well at the box office, getting over $500 million at the box office. It still did a great job on its own, and we're talking about 4 of the most successful animated features of 2019. And yet, it's almost like, technically, this is the closest thing that we have gotten ever for Missing Link. What I mean is more, this is the closest thing that we have gotten for an independent animated feature to actually win a Golden Globe Award. And by the way, this is, with Missing Link, by the way, this is actually a first for many things. Because not only is this the first ever Golden Globe win for Laika, because beforehand they would always end up getting shafted by either a Disney film or another movie or something like that. This is not only their first win, but also this is the first time ever for a stop-motion animated feature to win a Golden Globe Award. So Missing Link really made some very significant history here. And honestly, I really did love it. Like, I remember even at the time, it was funny because I think I coincidentally turned on the TV, and it was at the moment where they were showing off the best animated feature category after that failed little skit with Amy Poehler and Taylor Swift. They were trying to do some stupid joke, and it did not make sense. It was like, oh, shut up and give us the nominations and tell us the winner already. And then suddenly they said Missing Link. I remember when I watched it, I was at a state of shock at first. Like, I was completely stunned that the last name that I would expect to hear would actually be the winner of them all for the Golden Globes. And then afterwards, I felt very happy. And like I said before, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's the only original animated film on the list of nominations that ended up becoming the winner. And this is something that I have grown to really appreciate and support more, to really value originality over already existing properties, value it over remakes, adaptations, sequels, or whatever, because like when it comes to original animated features, there's a lot running to it. There's a lot running for it, or there's a lot there's a lot of obstacles it has to face compared to something that already exists before, like compared to an adaptation or a sequel or a follow-up or what have you, stuff like that. In a way, it does remind me a bit of last year's award season when I was one of the very few minorities where I was actually rooting more for Isle of Dogs to get the gold for Best Animated Feature more so than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because when you do look at Isle of Dogs, it's a little bit of the same thing, where Isle of Dogs was pretty much up against a lot of sequels and adaptations like Incredibles 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I believe there was also Mirai that was nominated. It was a Japanese animated feature as well, but the big thing is that Isle of Dogs is one of the few original features that was up against all those, or at least one of the few mainstreamish animated features. And I know that a lot of people were rooting for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but the reason why I was valuing more Isle of Dogs more so than Spider-Verse is mainly because there is something that Isle of Dogs has that Spider-Verse doesn't. And that is full-on originality. It doesn't depend on being something that already exists and that people already have an established bias for. It's coming in fresh, something that we have never seen before. And with Spider-Verse, like, people already kind of have this bias for Spider-Man, that they want to see a cool Spider-Man movie, and it does deliver on that, so it does cater to that fan base, and people are going fully crazy over it. That, and also, with Spider-Verse, that is a film that is really more style over substance. Now, this is not to say that Spider-Verse doesn't have any substance at all. In fact, it does have good substance, but it's definitely clear that it definitely prefers its style of animation over the quality of its writing. Whereas Isle of Dogs, on the other hand, that is definitely a movie where it is substance over style. Now, of course, there is some style, but you can tell with Isle of Dogs, that's more of a movie that values its writing and its story much more than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Again, I know I'm in the minority, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but that is why I feel like Isle of Dogs deserves more awards than what Spider-Verse has received, because the Isle of Dogs is the one that took a lot more risks as an original animated feature. And even though Spider-Verse was the one that ended up getting the most awards, in this case here, this is like if we did live in an alternate dimension where Isle of Dogs did get the win, where Isle of Dogs would be viewed as the big winner at the award season for animated films. And right now, it's Missing Link that's the one that's taking its place. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. For the sake of original animated features, this is a total win. And not just that, but also for stop motion films as well. Because on top of being the first ever stop motion animated film to win the Golden Globe Award, and also Laika's first Golden Globe win, this is also the first time ever for this category at the Golden Globes that it has been given to an animated film that is not CGI. If you look at the previous list, all the winners were computer animation. It was just one computer animated feature over another. And then suddenly, Missing Link is the one that broke everything and decided to try something new with stop motion. Now, yes, there is some computer animation in Missing Link, that is true, but it is primarily stop motion. So this is definitely a major win, not just for Laika, but also for many different fields of animation. And that's where I feel like it is truly exciting, and that's why I couldn't be more prouder that it is Missing Link. Even though, like, my personal favorite is Toy Story 4. I would have loved to see that win as well, but the fact that an original animated film is the one that trumped over Toy Story 4, that's where I feel proud. That's what honestly, that's where I feel satisfied. It's like, okay, you know what? I'll take it. I feel happy about it. So, with that said, overall, As I said before, even though Missing Link is not necessarily my personal choice of the best animated film of 2019, I am definitely happy to see that it is the big winner for best animated film, over Frozen 2, over Toy Story 4, over Lion King, and over The Hidden World, over all the Disney films. That suddenly Laika is the one that is the big winner. And personally, I would just like to say, if there is one lesson that we would have to take from this, if there is something that if there is one thing that we should learn from Missing Link's win, is that it really shows us that there is a big difference between getting nominated and then who won. Because even though, like you look at the list, even though it is Disney taking the grand majority, that doesn't necessarily mean they would be the ones coming out as the big winner. Because you never know who could legitimately win. Even though Disney's the one that's taking the most, and most of them are pretty justifiable why they have won in the first place, you never know. Like, even though they got the most nominations, but that's nothing compared to being the big winner. It means nothing when compared to actually getting the Golden Globe Award. Disney can have all the nominations it wants, but it's Laika the one walking away with the trophy. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to go and ask you guys, what do you think about Missing Link's win? Do you think it deserves to win Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes? Do you feel like maybe there's something else that deserves it? How do you feel about Missing Link being the winner? Let me know what you all think, guys. All right, tell me. Let's see. Do we have some comments? I'm surprised it's getting a little slow, but okay. I could work with this. Okay. Let's see. Disney BTFO'd. How did they recover? That aside, give my creative blessings to Laika for netting themselves a very rare and historic win. The win also demonstrates a past point made about people being burned out from franchises, sequels included. Yeah, that definitely is true. Let's see. I am so happy for Missing Link. I was in tears when I saw it was the big winner at the Golden Globes. This is the only film that's not from Disney or Pixar to win this since Spider-Verse. Well, I mean, Spider-Verse was last year, so I mean, it wasn't that long ago. And Missing Link is a very enjoyable film. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it does have some very great qualities about it. And I am very happy for Laika and director Chris Butler. By the way, quick question. Do you think that Laika is an underdog company in terms of their movies' reputation and attention? Well, I would say kind of. Because the thing is, I mean, yes, their movies are very, like, they are the underdogs in the way that they're not getting as much attention. But when it comes to the movies themselves and their reputation, I think honestly they're not really underdogs, because they consistently have a great reputation. Like, when the name Laika does appear in the animation community, a lot of people do look at it with admiration, and even though there's not necessarily a lot of movies in their library, they do bring out some very strong ones, especially with Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings. So I would say kind of. Like, yes, they are underdogs in terms of attention, but when it comes to their reputation, they're already doing much better than most animation studios, actually. Let's see. Let's be real, folks. Who the hell expected Missing Link to win? Not that it's a problem, since it's a really fun movie, and it's honestly surprising how an underdog box office bomb beat out $3 billion movies that came from the biggest company in cinema is just incredible. And considering how Klaus didn't get a nomination, I'll personally take what I can get. Exactly, dude. That's one of the big things. You just gotta take what you can get. Probably the same as how Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit won for Best Animated Feature. Oh crap, did Wallace and Gromit actually win? Oh crap. Oh man, I might have to take back what I said about, I don't remember. Did Wallace and Gromit win the Golden Globe? I know it won the Oscar, but I'm drawing a blank if it actually won the Golden Globe Award. I might have to take back my previous comments about like, oh, the first time that a stop motion film got a Golden Globe. I do apologize for that little piece of misinformation. That's just me being dumb. Like, you could correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Let's see now. The Golden Globe. Oh, that Golden Globe didn't exist yet. Oh, okay. Oh, I just had a flash. That's right, because they started with the 2006 movies. Okay, so I am still correct on that one. All right, I take it back. All right, I got this. Okay, it's good. It's good. I'm okay. I still got my facts checked. I still got it right. Okay, good. All right, anyways, hopefully the missing link will inspire more stop motion films in the future to win future global awards. Maybe not for the Oscars, but at least it's something that can be proud of. But I do have to ask, is it better to be a box office success or to be an award winner? That is a very good question, but honestly, I think in terms of the success of a movie, it would have to be a box office success. In order to help out the company to do better, in order for them to produce more films, money is on top of everything, even on top of awards and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, like you do get like little bonus points if you do get awards, but that it's another story about being a big box office winner. Anyways, let's see what other comments there are. I was surprised to see Missing Link to win, but I am happy to see it win, not just Laika, but for stop motion out there. I do wonder if the Academy members would pick this, since they are more favorable to originality over sequels from what I've heard. Also, happy for Tarantino to win some awards, including Best Picture in a comedy or musical. I guess we do live in an alternate reality where Sony wins more awards than Disney does, right? Laika is not Disney, just letting you know. Like, yeah, Sony may have won last year for that one good movie that they've made, but, you know, it's just, like, just settle down on that. Like, not everything that's not Disney is Sony, you know. And honestly, thank God for that. Oh, let's see. I'll read one more comment before we're going to jump into the next story. Let's see. I'll read one more. Here we go. I'm surprised that Missing Link won, and I'm really proud of Laika for that win. For the most part, it somewhat makes up for the box office disappointment. Yeah, I guess you could say so. So I guess, with that said, I'll conclude this little piece of story, and I'll say congratulations to the people at Laika for the surprising Golden Globes win, and also best of luck for next week, or in a few days as I am recording this, when the Academy Awards will be coming out with their nominations. And that's going to be interesting to check out and to keep an eye on, because I think now, for the first time in a long time, the Best Animated Feature category is going to be quite unpredictable. Okay, so with that said, now it is time that we are going to jump onto the next story that I have here, and it involves the other big news that has occurred that happened last weekend. And speaking of awards and box office, considering that I already talked about the awards section here, now it is time that we are going to jump into the box office. And there is one movie that made a major significance last week at the box office, and that is Frozen 2. Yes, folks, it is official. From this article of Variety, as it says, Frozen 2 is now the highest grossing animated movie ever! Well, okay, not really, actually. Actually, that's not necessarily accurate. What did happen, however, is that last weekend, Frozen 2 has officially surpassed the first Frozen at the box office, where the first Frozen movie has made a total of $1.28 billion. The second Frozen film managed to surpass that, where it has accumulated $1.325 billion at the box office. Now, despite what this article says, it is not necessarily true that it is the highest grossing animated feature ever, because of course there is the remake of The Lion King that came out last year. And that movie made a grand total of $1.65 billion. Now, what's funny to note is that it's not just Variety, but any other article that would actually talk about Frozen 2's record, they would all share the same title. They would all say how Frozen 2 is now the new highest grossing animated movie ever. But what's actually funny is that when you do actually read the articles, it's actually kind of hilarious to see how they try to sidestep the fact that the remake of The Lion King is actually an animated film, where they try to go onto the side where they actually, they gotta be that one douchey commenter where they gotta go, they have to be that, to be fair, you know what I'm saying? That, when there's someone who would actually go and argue and made a really good point, and then you got that one douchey contrarian that has to stand up and say, well, to be fair, try to like forcefully try to disprove someone's point, or try to be the contrarian to be just for the sake of disagreeing with the person. That's basically what these articles are trying to do. Here, I'll read you the little example here for why they're not counting The Lion King as an animated film. It says here, Favreau's remake of The Lion King is entirely computer generated and earned $1.65 billion in 2019. Disney considers it a live-action reboot rather than an animated film. And then it continues saying, either way, the benchmark only solidifies Disney's place as the preemptive force of all things animation. The studio is now responsible for the top 3 biggest cartoon movies of all time, or technically top 4, like with the 2 Frozen films, The Lion King, and also Incredibles 2. So that's pretty much the big thing. And as I am recording this, as of January 11th, it is actually stated here, if I go into my source, switching it to Box Office Mojo, right now, Frozen 2 has a box office total of nearly $455 million domestically, and a worldwide total of $1.33 billion. So essentially right now, it's just, by doing the math, it is about $320 million away from the Lion King remake, and it is not, and honestly, we're at the point where, at first, I felt like I was kind of doubting it. I wasn't sure if Frozen 2 would actually make it, but then, seeing how it really did perform at the box office, that's when I started to realize, yeah, it is entirely likely that it would surpass it. And now we are at the point where it did. It took a while to go and reach that point. I think like now it's been what, like about a month and a half now that Frozen 2 has been released at the box office. But inevitably, it did manage to surpass it. And in previous episodes of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I've already explained a lot onto what really went into the success of Frozen 2. Rather it be the anticipation of the film, the very successful marketing where they're taking it seriously, or it's the fact that the reactions have been so mixed that the only way someone can really know how they can respond to Frozen 2 is by watching it themselves. And then at this point, we can safely say that a lot of it has to do with the rewatchability value, because you know that there are plenty of people out there who would go and watch Frozen not just once, but several times in theaters. And I will confess, I actually saw Frozen 2 twice on the big screen. Once for the sake of reviewing it, and the second time was to go and check it out with my friends. So even I have to admit that I am guilty of having some re-watchings of Frozen 2 on the big screen, and actually help out a little bit more on its box office total. But the big question is right now that we have made it to the point that Frozen 2 did officially surpass the first Frozen, the big question is right now, would it be able to go and surpass the Lion King remake? Can it truly stand as the real the highest grossing animated film of all time and actually surpass that, and we can finally put these arguments about the Lion King remake being an animated film or not to rest, where it wouldn't matter anymore because Frozen 2 is the highest grossing animated feature of all time? Is that possible at this point? And for me, and I did take some time to really think about it, and I would have to say maybe. Because right now I feel like we're at the point where it truly is a 50-50 chance if it would actually go and may actually achieve that record, if it can actually surpass it. Because I can definitely see two ways that it can go. Because on one hand, yes, it is actually performing very strongly at the box office, and it wouldn't be hard to imagine that this success can actually continue on. If, like, we've seen it perform so well, even during the holiday season, when, like, even after a month, that it was released, like, it was still performing well, even if the spotlight has been completely taken by Jumanji: The Next Level and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. It was still doing very well on its own, and whatever other movies would be released, then Frozen 2 would just go and beat the odds and triumph over all those movies. Like, it did way better than Cats, it did better than Spies in Disguise, and it's already doing better than the Grudge remake, and, like, it may not necessarily be surpassing all that much on Little Women, but it is entirely on the same level. Like, right now it is at the point where both Little Women and Frozen 2 are kind of, like, fluctuating on where to put themselves at the box office. And if a month-old movie can do as well as Little Women, then I think it truly stands that it could probably continue on very well. And also, another point that I would like to bring up that I've mentioned in the previous episode is the fact that one way that it can bring back some relevancy onto this movie would be regarding the awards. If not only Frozen 2 would be nominated for Best Animated Feature, but also for Best Original Song for Into the Unknown. And considering that the Oscar nominations are going to be a few days away, I feel like right now there could be a very strong chance that it could legitimately happen, because so far Into the Unknown already has a good track record into actually getting that nomination. If the Golden Globes can be a good indicator, I'm not saying that it would win, but at least give us a clue that it could be nominated, then the relevancy of Frozen 2 can be revived a bit again, which will encourage people to go and check it out. And on top of that, there is something that has been recently announced that can really give it a big push at the box office to continue forward for the rest of this winter, and that is actually a sing-along version. This was actually something that was just recently announced, that Disney is going to be releasing a sing-along version of Frozen 2. Now, this is something that they have previously done before with some of their other movies. They did it with the first Frozen, I think they also did it with Moana as well, and now they're going to go and do it with Frozen 2, which could encourage at least the fans to return and enjoy the songs all over again, because a lot of people do state that one of the strongest points of the movie is actually the songs, where they are surprisingly almost on par with the original songs. And you got to keep in mind, the songs from the first Frozen, they are legendary songs. Like, they are already Disney classics, and they are some of the most noteworthy songs of the 2010 decade. So with Frozen 2, considering that they're having a re-release where they would highlight the songs prominently, then I think this is something that the lovers of the second film, they will come back to it, and this will also give it a significant boost, maybe even enough boost to actually go and surpass The Lion King, where it would get the $320 million that it would be looking for throughout the wintertime. But then again, at the same time, I would also say no as well. Because here's the big thing that you gotta remember. It did get a very significant push even after a month after its release, even with the big movies that have already come out during the holiday season. Like, it did perform very well. But the reason for that big push, even after a month after its release, It's because it is the holiday season. Now we are at the point where we have moved on. The holidays are officially over. Adults are back to work, kids are back to school, so there really isn't all that much going on at in cinemas or at the box office specifically. Now we are going to be at the point where things are really going to be winding down, and if people would want to go back to theaters, it would mainly be because of the holiday movies that they have yet to check out during the holidays. Like, it would most likely be something like Star Wars or Jumanji that people would go and revisit, and maybe they would go back and check out Frozen 2, but it's definitely not going to be as big as it was when it was either released or during the holiday season. So it is definitely going to have a hard time. Now, I am not saying that it wouldn't have a chance at this point, but I can imagine if it would not actually beat The Lion King at the box office, then I can imagine it could actually end up being very close, like maybe 1.4 billion or even 1.5 billion. But honestly, with what I'm saying here is that we are, and plus the fact, there are some people that are bringing this up as well, is that by the time February is going to come in, then I think that's at the point where Frozen 2 will officially move, where people are going to officially move on from Frozen 2 on the big screen, because when February comes around, that's when there's going to be more bigger movies that will get more significant attention, especially the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. That's where a lot more focus is going to be on, and where people are going to be fully prepared for the feature films of 2020. So overall, I feel like with how Frozen 2 is doing, I feel like at this point, it is a 50-50 chance that it could surpass the Lion King remake, where I feel like there are possibilities that it could, but at the same time, there are possibilities that it won't. Honestly, for me, I feel like this is the point where we can only wait and see with what's going to happen with Frozen 2. Because there are some people that have said before that, oh, it's not going to surpass the first Frozen, and yet here we are right now making numbers that not even Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker can even get up to. So honestly, it really is a situation where it might sound crazy, especially for a movie that's already about a month and a half, but I could definitely see the circumstances where it could actually get a significant boost, and maybe it can actually achieve what many people might consider impossible. We just have to go and wait and see on this. But either way, it's going to be really fascinating to see how Frozen 2 is going to continue at the box office. And who knows? Best of luck for Disney on that. And major congrats for the team at Disney who worked on Frozen 2 for achieving even more than what the first has done. So with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys, how do you feel about Frozen 2 beating the first Frozen at the box office? Do you feel like it deserves it? Do you feel like maybe the first Frozen should have stayed as the highest grossing animated film? And do you think that Frozen 2 still has a chance of surpassing the Lion King remake at the box office? Let me know what you all think on this. And I need some water right now. Alright, okay, let's see. Some people might be a little bit doubtful if it would surpass it. Let's see right now. What a great transition where we were going from something not even the most hardcore Laika fans could expect to something everyone kind of saw coming. But seriously, I'm glad Frozen managed to top, well, itself. And with Disney still taking the lead, I guess the movie means I guess the movie means it when it says some things never change. But the question remains, will the inevitable third movie explain who the flip Samantha is? Oh my god, that would be the big... Yeah, that would be, like, the big twist. The great spirit of Arendelle turns out to be Samantha, and only Olaf knows about her. Oh my god, that would be insane. Anyways, Let's see. I'm happy for Frozen 2 to make that record, but that line about Disney wanting the Lion King remake to seem as live action still baffles me, as it implies that Disney is kind of looking down on animation. I mean, wasn't the company the king of animation, especially with Snow White? Oh boy, some people, wow. Apparently this argument is still triggering people. It's still making people upset. Like, you know, this argument about is the Lion King remake an animated film, some people are still heated about it. I can definitely tell you that. Alright, let's see now. Frozen 2 better be the highest grossing animated film. I honestly adore it so much. I know a few people will disagree with me on this, but hey, more room for me with Anna and Elsa. Overall, I just hope it surpasses Lion King by a cent or two. Oh my god, it's like, that would be amazing. Frozen 2 manages to beat the Lion King at the box office by 1 penny. That Frozen 2 ended up with $1.65 billion and 1 cent, making it the highest grossing animated feature ever. Oh my god, that would be crazy. I wonder if that ever does happen, that a movie has surpassed another film at the box office just by like freaking cents, not by dollars, but like by freaking pennies. Okay, let's see. Oh boy, as you can see, no matter on which side it is, it, like, the argument about if the Lion King is a live action, if the Lion King remake is a live action film or not, like, it still triggers anyone on any side. Like, I even see in the comment, can we get over if the Lion King is an animated film or not? It doesn't bloody matter anymore. Oh boy, I didn't expect people are that freaked out about it. Let's see. The Lion King was nominated for Best Animated Film at the Golden Globes, exactly. Here we go. I honestly think the first Frozen was a lot better, but glad to hear it is doing well. I might even try the sing-along version, because it sounds like fun. I mean, if you're the kind that does like sing-alongs, then yeah, definitely the Frozen 2 one would definitely be for you. Okay, so now that we got last weekend's news out of the way, we can now move on to this week's news, and we actually got a lot of interesting stories to get into. And the first of which, I would like to talk a little bit about what's happening in the world of YouTube, because there is one major significance with what's going on at YouTube, where it is official right now, and COPPA has now been applied onto the YouTube system, where the rules are now official, and YouTube is fully moving forward with applying those rules onto the videos. We've had months of practice ever since the announcement was actually made, but now it is the real deal. And non-surprisingly, with YouTube systems detecting which videos are technically for kids or not, it has been going terribly. In fact, I would even say a bit disastrously. And one proof, if you don't believe me, then talk to the Bronies and the Pegasisters. Apparently what's been happening is that now the COPPA policy is live on YouTube, and it has definitely been hitting a lot of content where now they are labeled for kids, many of which are videos related to My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. However, when it comes to many of those videos, a lot of them would not necessarily be for kids. Yes, they would be talking about a kid's show or be related to a kid's show, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would be for kids. One video in particular that did get hit with the COPPA policy on YouTube and has been deemed as for kids is Cupcakes HD. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Cupcakes HD, it's one of the most infamous videos among the My Little Pony community, where it is basically a piece of animation that brings to life a fan fiction where Pinkie Pie invites Rainbow Dash to go and make cupcakes at her place. But as it turns out, Pinkie Pie's cupcakes are made out of ponies. And following that, Pinkie Pie makes cute little puns while she would dismember Rainbow Dash, you know, tearing her literally from limb to limb and taking out her organs in a disgustingly bloody and gory fashion. So as you can imagine, it is something that is not for kids. And just to go and read you a little bit, a little piece here from my source here in Equestria Daily, as it states, a content oh wait, no, not here. Oh, right, yeah, I think, here's the thing. For the people out there that haven't posted things in forever, though, it's going to be an interesting time as videos about clop, gore, and other very much adult-oriented material in the pony sphere are now 100% marketed towards kids. One good bit of news for the My Little Pony community is that it also mentioned here in the article that brony musicians are not targeted as much, where most of the musicians that have been inspired by My Little Pony, they are safe, and their content has not necessarily been hit. However, if you are a content creator, and this is going to be something I will repeat a few times here, it is very important to note that, just to read again from my source, it says, luckily, it's easy to fix. A content creator needs to simply go into their video settings, find their offending videos, and change their settings to not for kids. And this doesn't just necessarily apply to just My Little Pony, because the big thing with the COPPA policy is that the animator's nightmare about this is pretty much valid. Their worst fears about it is actually pretty true, and they were fully right about being a bit paranoid about the whole COPPA thing, because now YouTube systems are pretty much indicating anything that would be animated, anything that would be a cartoon, it would pretty much be labeled as for kids. And there have been plenty of examples that have been spread across social media. I got this one here from Twitter at, this is from Sparkerez. This is the user, and Sparkerez has a few examples where you got this one video, Happy Tree Friends, where you see one of the characters like just mangled up. We see their skeletons, blood everywhere. Typical Happy Tree Friend stuff. All, like you see at the bottom, it says it is content is made for kids. And then you got another one, a Panty and Stockings clip. This is a Stalking Anarchy Funny Moments compilation, and this is a picture of Stalking in a very sexual pose with a very arousing and large cleavage, and this too has been labeled as for kids. And then we got another one, a Hot Diggity Demon video. Yes, I mean, the style of Hot Diggity Demon is definitely recognizable, and this is a little bit of a Cupcakes moment over here. We see Rainbow Dash getting a chainsaw directly to the head. Again, marketed towards kids. And then we also got a clip here from Super Jail, in what seems to be this guy dismembered, and like his arms literally got ripped off by two women, where they're just ripping, and it looks like the guy's face is ripped off as well, from Adult Swim, labeled for kids. Now, some people could technically say is that the reason why they have been targeted is mainly because they're not necessarily the official videos. They're not from the official places. Like this ain't from the official Happy Tree Friends YouTube channel or from Hot Diggity Demon. This is like re-uploads from other YouTubers, which is something you should never do. That's why they have been labeled as for kids, which, yeah, some people could say that is true, but then again, there is also the fact with Adult Swim, like this one over here, the little Super Jail clip, which is actually called Mass Orgy. This is actually from the official Adult Swim Nordic YouTube channel. And with Adult Swim, they have several YouTube channels based on different countries. Like they got Adult Swim France, Adult Swim UK, Adult Swim India, Adult Swim Ireland, Adult Swim Germany, or what have you, or Adult Swim Mexico, Adult Swim Spain. They got all these different channels, and yet a lot of them have been legitimately hit with the COPPA policy, that they have legit been labeled as for kids. And with that said, now with all this highlighted, one thing that I would like to say is that I am highly aware that there are a lot of people that are very much upset about the COPPA policy, and that it really does add fuel to the fire of antagonizing YouTube as a platform, and also with the with the Federal Trade Commission. I believe that's their that's what their that's what FTC means, right? It's the Federal Trade Commission. But in this case here, I would like to say that what is happening with what you are actually seeing with all these clips getting labeled as for kids, it is not the FTC's fault, nor is it COPPA's fault. Honestly, if there is one thing to take the entire blame from this, it is fully YouTube. And by the way, one thing I forgot to mention as well, for those of you who don't know, the reason why it is an issue if a content is labeled as for kids, there are a lot of punishments, or I guess I would call them punishments, if your video gets labeled as for kids. Because the thing is, if your video gets labeled as for kids, you end up losing your comment section. Comments are immediately disabled. You cannot like or dislike the video. You cannot notify your viewers about your video being posted. And the grand majority of revenue is pretty much all gone. So if your video gets labeled as for kids, you would get heavily punished for it. Like, severely. Even more so than if your video would be labeled 18 plus. It is legit that bad. And going into this, looking into the whole situation with the COPPA policy, yes, I do entirely blame YouTube on this, because once again, this is YouTube ignorantly believing that all their problems can be solved through automated machines. That these are things that it requires human perspectives. It requires people to analyze and check if it is actually something that is labeled for kids or not. Like, it's a job that it requires people to do, and yet they decided to reject it and give it entirely to machines in order to go and do so. And just like YouTube's other automated systems, they fail terribly. The grand majority of the stuff they would detect are not actually for kids, especially with stuff like Cupcakes, or the Super Jail clip, or Happy Tree Friends, or Hot Diggity Demon videos, or Panty and Stockings clips. It really is full on YouTube just ignorantly believing that they can solve all their problems with machines, and that's it. Which YouTube does have a very strong history of using automated systems, and they end up hurting creators more so than actually helping their business. Probably the best example, of course, is copyright. Now, with copyright claims, it has gone absolutely ridiculous, and even after many years, even if there is some slight improvements since before, they are still some major serious problems with the copyright claims, where they would go absolutely ballistic with it. And a personal example that I would like to give, and on top of that, like, the system itself is pretty much widely open for big companies to use and heavily abuse it. Like, one example is regarding my review of The Croods 2. This week, it actually got hit with a copyright claim that was manually detected by DreamWorks Animation, or more of an international division of DreamWorks Animation, either one. And what they have detected, and what they have put a total copyright claim on, is literally 2 seconds of a clip. Like, literally indicating from 0 seconds to 2 seconds. Apparently that is enough to block my video from around 250 countries, and to close off the monetization from it. That is actually ridiculous. That is objectively ridiculous. And the fact that YouTube would allow these companies to abuse the system that way is just immoral and full-on wrong. I mean, it shocks me to the core that they would even let this happen. That the problem can legitimately be that bad. But anyways, that's just about copyright. What I'm talking about here is regarding COPPA. But as you could tell, this is honestly a system that is widely open to be highly abusive and that really YouTube is only making things worse. Now, thankfully, this is an issue that can be easily solved, much more than like all the copyright claims and stuff like that. Like for now, as long as you actually go and label your video that it's not for kids, then the problem can actually be solved. Like maybe some people could say that this is just a temporary band-aid, but for now, it is actually something that could actually help out the situation. So the one benefit from this is that the whole COPPA policy is actually easier to fix than the copyright system that is on YouTube. But overall, it really does highlight how automated systems are really a massive curse in YouTube's business. How they're pretty much letting their systems to do all the work for them, and it ends up hurting creators much more than it is helping them. And on top of that, it's not doing its job well when it's just blindly going after things just based on like the simplest of context. The fact that they would just go after cartoons, that this really, like apparently the machines have the mentality that if it's a cartoon, then it means that it's for kids. So they would go and attack them directly. It really, like I said before, it really does emphasize, like it really does validate the fears that the animators had for their videos. And honestly, it really does highlight how these algorithms and automated systems on YouTube, that they're like, honestly, they're hurting creators. That they like, honestly, I understand that it is you know, it is a first step and they still have a long way to go. Like maybe they'll go and try to fix the situation, but it really does highlight the problems with the machines on YouTube, that they shouldn't let the machines do all the work for them as much as like they're letting it. I understand that YouTube is a massive platform and that millions of videos get uploaded every day or even every hour, but still, this is something, like, in order to determine if something is for kids, it does require a human perspective instead of a machine's perspective. And that is honestly the problem. And even though it is, you know, it is a much, like I said, it is a much easier fix than it is the copyright, that it is with the copyright system, it is still a serious problem on YouTube's part. Again, this is not COPPA's fault. This is not the FTC's fault. This is YouTube being way too dependent on their machines to do all the business for them. So, with that said, oh, and by the way, there is one more thing I would like to mention as well, just in case if there are people that are going to ask me how I am with COPPA, and I just want to say, so far with my videos, surprisingly enough, everything is okay. I don't think I've got a video hit yet where it has been labeled as for kids. I double checked on like my videos on what I got, and so far, like, I did do the settings where I put all my videos as not for kids, and so far I don't think I have one yet that has been officially hit or deemed as for kids. So I am lucky on that end. Alright, so now with that said, I would like to go and jump onto the, jump onto the chat wall, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you all think about, what we have seen here? What do you all think about, the whole COPPA situation and how things are starting out on YouTube? I don't think a lot of people would say that things are going well with YouTube, so, just let me know what you all think. Okay, well, let's see right now. Cupcakes HD is a gory animation made by Mr. Davey based on the creepypasta Cupcakes. Now YouTube says this re-upload of Cupcakes is made for kids as well with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared and Happy Tree Friends. That's why the YouTube Kids app is there. Exactly, man. I mean, like, I think really this is something that YouTube really isn't prepared for. I know that they've had months, but even at that, like, it really does show that they were totally not prepared for this, even with the kids app, even with, like, them being punished by the FTC. Like, even after months of preparation and trying to set the creators up for this, they were just not ready for this. Okay, let's see now. I will go and say that YouTube screwed this up. Don't believe me? YouTube has also labeled the first episode of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared as for kids. All I could say is to quote Mr. Krabs from the second SpongeBob movie,
Welcome to the apocalypse, Squidward. I hope you like leather.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's just one of the... Yeah, and of course, this is one of... from what I've shown you, this is one of the many examples. And you'll see in the chat wall, a lot of people will mention that, videos like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared would actually get hit. And it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Let's see now. It angers me to no end that Lily Orchard can badmouth John Scorcher and Rebecca Sugar. Well, okay, well, I'm not gonna go. Okay, so like we're not gonna be bashing like YouTube creators here. We're just focusing on YouTube itself now. So like I'm not gonna be opening up that can of worms. Let's see here. I got another example for you. There's a video on YouTube that is marketed for kids with a 9-minute clip of Fritz the Cat where the title explicitly says Nazi Bunny. It's official, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube has really screwed up this time. Wow, honestly, on a personal level, knowing that kind of pisses me off. That really does. Because the thing is, yeah, that video is labeled as for kids. Meanwhile, the first part of Animation Look Back Ralph Bakshi has been hit with an 18+ warning. That most of my revenue and that most of my viewership for that video ends up being blocked off because it is geared towards adults. YouTube just has no freaking clue of what it's doing. Like, that pisses me off to no end, man. Like, come on, man. Which one, which one is it with Fritz the Cat? Is it for kids or for adults? Pick a side, YouTube. You cannot do both. Alright, let's see now. Tado saying this is just passing issue, could be nothing more wrong. I've seen stuff like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, pornographic videos, 9/11 memes, clips of Fritz the Cat, and even videos with the N-word literally in the title being marketed as for kids. Never would I have expected that the Elsa Gate controversy to make a comeback, but here we are. Overall, I feel like Kappa is the same as fixing a life-threatening flesh wound with a band-aid. What were they thinking? Exactly. That's why you cannot let machines do all the job for you. You need people. Even though this would be an entirely long process, it could take forever and millions of people to work on that, but still, it needs people. To determine on what it is, you cannot fully depend on machines. You gotta take people on this. Let's see. YouTube could learn something from The Mandalorian. Don't trust robots, i.e. droids, same thing. Yeah, I mean, pretty much, like, you gotta learn from the first, like, at least learn from, like, the first episode of The Mandalorian. I mean, like, maybe YouTube saw the last episode and maybe got that idea, but, yeah, that's the thing. You gotta have a bit of the mentality of The Mandalorian in the first few episodes. You just cannot trust droids, period. Let's see now. I'm very upset on how YouTube handled the Kappa situation. I hate how they label some videos that aren't made for kids as for kids videos. Even some videos that are not animation that are labeled as for kids. For example, the Gold Derby video, that talks about movie predictions for the upcoming Oscars were labeled as for kids. I seen it, and it very upsets me how they labeled as for kids when it is actually made for adults. Hate how YouTube handles this, and they definitely are to blame for this. Exactly, man. Exactly. Let's see. Oh, well, we do have some good news. Also, luckily, any of Vivzy Pop's stuff like Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss were also not hit by the new law. I'm sure Vivzy Pop must have done some procedures like to really make sure that they wouldn't get hit whatsoever. So I think Vivzy Pop is one of the few animators that actually was legit very careful to make sure that her videos would not get hit as for kids. Let's see now. I'm glad you're okay at the end, Animat. Unfortunately, another one of my favorite YouTubers named Brawny Buck had the comments removed from his Power Ponies review. They need to fix this. Exactly. Do we have it? I'll go and read one more before we're going to jump onto the next story. Let's see. Just let parents be parents and let them tell the kids that there's some content they shouldn't watch on YouTube. Eggs frickin' exactly, dude. This is mostly, the funny thing is that, this isn't the job, and that's the funny thing though. This is not the job of machines. This is not, and in a way, some people could even say this is not the job of YouTube. This is the job of parents. This is something parents should do. If they're concerned about what their kids are watching on YouTube, then they are the ones that have to keep an eye on them. It's their responsibility to know what kids should be watching or shouldn't be watching, or to explain to them what they have just watched. It's their job to go and do so, not a machine's job, and maybe a little bit of YouTube's job, but primarily it's the parent's job to do so. So the parent, it could happen if your kid can end up mistakenly go and watch something like Cupcakes HD or Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. If that moment ever comes, then you as a parent have to be ready to either switch that thing immediately, or you gotta go and be ready to have a chat with your kid on that. Alright, so, excuse me. I think I went a little too loud on that. I don't know, I just saw my little mic meter and it's just like, peak beyond belief! Alright, sorry. Anyways, going back to what I was talking about. Yes, the next story that I have over here, well, you know what? It's actually kind of funny because we're sticking to the same theme. We're still going to be talking about automated systems. Now that we are a little bit more familiar about automated systems and that how they can be very flawed as well, I think it will ease on up to go and talk about our next story. Now, you might have seen some filmmakers bring this up on social media, but I think, honestly, this is going to be something that I feel like is very fascinating to go and talk about. And what I'm talking about is regarding Warner Brothers. Now, what has happened here is that with Warner Brothers, they have officially signed up with Cinelytic in order to use their project management system. Now, I'm going to be reading you a little bit from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, as it states, under the new deal, Warner's will leverage the system's comprehensive data and predictive analysis to guide decision-making at the greenlit stage. The integrated online platform can assess the value of a star in any territory and how much a film is expected to make in theaters and on other ancillary streams. While the platform won't necessarily predict what will be the next billion-dollar surprise like Warner Brothers' hit Joker, it will reduce the amount of time executives spent on low-value, repetitive tasks and instead give them better dollar figure parameters for packaging, marketing, and distribution decisions, including release dates. And we also have a few quotes here from the founder of Cinelytic, which is from Tobias Quasier. I think it's Quasier. Tobias Quasier. And Tobias states that the system can calculate in seconds what used to take days to assess by a human when it comes to general film package evaluations or a star's worth. He has also gone on to say, artificial intelligence sounds scary, but right now, an AI cannot make any creative decisions. What it is good at is crunching numbers and breaking down huge data sets and showing patterns that would not be visible to humans. But for creative decision making, you will still need to experience a gut instincts. And from there, Warner Brothers is not the only one that's actually using this system. There are a few companies as well that are also using the project management system to let them choose the movies for them. Like there is Ingenious Media, who made Wind River. There's Productivity Media, who did The Little Hours. And then there is also STX Entertainment, which you guys may know as the distributor of Playmobil and Ugly Dolls. And they too have been a client of Cinelytic ever since September. So that's the big thing that we are talking about over here with Cinelytic and Warner Brothers, is that now Warner Brothers has an AI system that will let them greenlight the movies for them. So to repeat, Warner Brothers is now going to rely on an automated system to greenlight the movies for them, to let the automated system to pick which movies to make for Warner Brothers. How the fridge can you go right on the... where can... What the... Wow. Whoo, boy. Warner Brothers, have a seat, man, because we gotta talk about this. As a YouTuber myself, I have already stated a lot about how this can fail. You know, how automatic systems, they do more harm than good, and that especially for the creators, they do a lot more damage. And yet now, you're using an automatic system to make the decisions for you on which movies that you should make. Why? Like, really, why? Because honestly, reading about it and reading what this does, like, I can definitely see some serious problems with it. Because the thing is, and it already mentioned a little bit in this article as well, because the thing is, yes, the AI system, it could detect a lot of things. It could detect about the worth or the value of a celebrity that is attached to the project, maybe also the filmmakers as well. And it can also detect the possibilities of how it could actually perform at the box office. Or maybe it says, yeah, like, the value of a star in any territory and how much a film is expected to make in theaters and other culinary streams. You know, it can detect all that. It can detect the numbers. But one thing that it cannot detect is how good a story is. It cannot detect the creative aspect of it. It cannot detect if the story is actually good, if it's a story that people would want to actually go and check out. It would not detect how the execution would be, if it's something that people would want to actually go and see, or if it's something that it would be heavily praised, or if it would be heavily panned by critics and audiences. These are things that this system cannot detect. It only knows how popular a celebrity is, how much they're worth, and how much the movie could possibly make at the box office based on several factors. And the thing is that I know this thing can be massively flawed, and it could really screw over a lot of executives and a lot of studios by looking into the movies of this year. Well, not this year, I don't mean 2020. If you look at the movies of 2019, the thing is that I know for a fact that there are plenty of movies that have been released that would easily pass the system's green light. That the system would say that it is a great idea to make these movies, but ultimately they have become major box office disasters. And I have 3 major examples of that. The example number 1 that I have, and probably the most obvious one of them all, it has to be Cats. Now, when you look at it in theory, Cats has a lot of the requirements that would actually make a major box office hit. This is a movie that has an all-star cast, has a variety of celebrities that a lot of people really adore and are attached to one way or another. Rather it be with Idris Elba, Ian McKellen, Taylor Swift, Jason Derulo, Rebel Wilson, James Corden, and all those people. It has a very prominent all-star cast. It is based on a very popular musical. It's based on one of the most revolutionary Broadway musicals of all time. It's a movie musical in which it's recently trending. That, and also, it has a very qualified director that can be a very appealing name, Tom Hooper, who did win an Oscar for The King's Speech and has experience with doing these kinds of musicals with Les Miserables. So you'd think that Cats would actually turn out to be a major box office hit, and the AI system would definitely say that this is definitely worth doing. But what happened? it ended up becoming one of the biggest cinematic disasters in recent years. So that could be one major mistake. Now, example number 2 would actually be Men in Black International. Now, again, Men in Black International does have some requirements of making a major box office smash. It is based on a very popular franchise. A lot of people really do like Men in Black. It is a CGI-heavy action flick, so definitely great for being a summer blockbuster. And it's also the great reunion of Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, that Valkyrie and Thor are working together once again, but now as part of the Men in Black team shooting off aliens. That's basically the big selling point for this movie in particular. And the AI system would think it would be a great idea. But did it turn out well? No, it turned out to be one of the biggest box office bombs of the year. And my third and final example that I would like to bring up is also the Lego Movie. Or more specifically, the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Now with that film, the Lego Movie 2, that's a sequel to one of the most talked about animated films of the decade. And on top of that, you still have Phil Lord and Chris Miller attached to it. Even though they're not directors, they're still heavily involved with it. And especially at the time, their popularity got a major boost, especially because of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So you'd think it would be fully successful for this movie. But as it turns out, it was a total failure. It turned out to be a box office flop, and not many people are really that interested in the Lego Movie anymore. So, that's the thing. So the thing is that the AI system, what it does is that it can only predict things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would happen. It doesn't matter if they manage to get a bunch of A-list celebrities, if it has a cool concept, if it's based on a popular franchise, or like with any of these things, it doesn't necessarily matter. Because if it doesn't have the creative standpoint, if it doesn't have the creative perspective, and if it cannot see the execution of it, of how it would go, then really, there's nothing to it. And I can honestly imagine that if studios end up becoming very dependent on, like, the Cinelytic system and stuff like that, it can go terribly for them. Like, I can totally imagine that this is going to cause a lot of movies that would be greenlighted that nobody would be interested, and it can really destroy a studio. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Cinelytic could cause the downfall of an entire company. Like, with STX involved, they're already in a really bad spot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cinelytic, if STX becomes very dependent on their system, then that would be their final nail in the coffin, considering that in 2019, they have had a terrible year. It is or just in general, with STX Entertainment, it's hard to really find one movie that they have distributed that became a major success. I mean, technically they had Bad Moms, but honestly, that's pretty much it. Can you think of any other popular STX movies or successful STX movies? Not really. So honestly, that's the problem with the automated system, is that this could actually be something that if studios are not careful, then they could really be screwed over by them, and it would actually cause more damage and more box office bombs, more so than it would be beneficial for them. However, this is not to say that this is objectively a terrible idea, because at the same time, I can actually see a little bit of where this could actually go well. And on a side note, apparently some people are saying Hustlers is a movie from STX Entertainment that has been successful for STX. Okay, so yeah, okay, maybe you do have that. Okay, you got Bad Moms and Hustlers. Other than that, are there any other examples that you could think of? I don't know. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I could actually see how it would actually become very beneficial, because technically the point of the whole Cinelytic system is that it's meant more to make the process of figuring out the numbers much faster. And instead of being dependent on it, what executives should do is that there needs to be a collaboration with them. there needs to be more of a collab between STX and there needs to be a collab with the executives and Cinelytic where they can combine their powers together in order to distribute the right movie. Where mainly the executive decisions are more key to anything, the human touch should be valued more than anything else, but when it comes to figuring out the numbers, then you would leave STX, why do I keep saying STX? You would give it to the Cinelytic system, and they would try to go and figure out the numbers to make the decision faster instead of waiting for days to know what the value of a celebrity or how well a movie would do is. So at least they could actually have the system go faster, but at least they would still have the human touch where they would know if it would have a good story or if the execution can actually be pretty good. So at least there would still be something like that. And on that point, if they can use it as a machine just to make the numbers go faster and not let that do the decisions for them, then honestly, I can actually see it work very well for studios, that if they are careful and not use that as something to confirm them, like to make this movie or not. Because honestly, overall, with the Cinelytic system, I feel like this is something that it could go both ways. Nothing in the middle. It's either one or the other, where on one hand, maybe it is very beneficial for studios and for companies to actually use something like the Cinelytic system, where it would help figure out the numbers much quicker, and it would not, it would help them not fully depend on them to go and make the decision, to consider if a movie is worth doing or not. So if it can be used as a helper, then it would actually be great. But if studios are not careful and they just blindly depend on the Cinelytic system to choose the movies for them, then that's when it becomes a disaster. That's when things go terrible for it. That's when they have to be legitimately careful. So for me, I would say that with this news, it's weird, but I can imagine it go one way or the other. It's either an amazing idea that's beneficial for studios, or this could be a disaster, and this is going to screw over a lot of companies. Now, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you all think about, the Cinelytic system? Do you think this is something that could actually be beneficial for studios? Do you think this could actually work out for something like Warner Brothers? Or do you think that this could be a terrible idea and Warner Brothers should have some second thoughts about using Cinelytic's project management system? Let me know what you all think. Okay, so let's see here. This is a terrible system. What if someone wants to make a movie based on how they want their audience to see or feel? If this system rejects their idea, this is going to be big trouble. We might have to use formulaic or cliched techniques. There's a reason why we evolved from fish to primates to humans. We change, we learn, we try something new. Machines cannot do that. Also, the idea of artificial intelligence kind of scares me, unless it's a hot robot, because it might cause chaos for humanity. Unless, I love the emphasis of, well, okay, unless it's a hot robot, then AI can definitely be okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. The chaos for humanity, like, the thing is that they could use AI and use the hot robots as a disguise, and then the chaos will go from there, because I have read stories, I kid you not, they would tell us stories about how AI robots, that when they're used for sexy stuff and stuff like that, they can also be used for deadly purposes. That it would be possible if in the future that there would be let's say, death by robot snoo. I guess that would be the best way to put it. Let's see here. To say this is as stupid as much as the Kappa system, in fact, I can picture how this might go horribly wrong. Like, I imagine this. A person wanted to make something that involves with Warner Brothers, like another Lego spin-off film with original characters, or a Looney Tunes movie, like comedy, featuring anything. And the system considers to deny to make. How can that person make any films unless any company writes if system goes off to any other company, it goes nowhere? Well, I mean, the thing is that unfortunately, that's sadly the truth. That's unfortunately show business. I mean, it's not just the system itself, but I mean, it's also with executives. I mean, ultimately, it is the executives that are doing the decisions as well. And I mean, yeah, there are times when they're going to be focusing a lot more on money. And like what you are setting here as an example, like, I mean, this unfortunately happens all the time. A lot of great and creative ideas do end up getting rejected by all the major studios. So the thing is that, yeah, on one hand, you're not wrong, but I mean, this is not because of the automated machines that this is happening. So I just want to put that out right there. Let's see, what else do we got here? This is a terrible idea overall, despite some good it can do. Perhaps to have plenty of indistinguishable copycats and hypocritical mouthpieces like Ugly Dolls and the Emoji Movie. Yeah, I mean, like, it will, like, one benefit is that maybe it will weed out, like, a lot of the ripoffs and stuff. Like, it will see, like, oh, the Lego movie, oh, like, oh, you want to make another Lego movie clone? Well, the Lego movie did very well. Oops, no. Even the Lego movie is not doing well nowadays, and especially its ripoffs are doing horribly. Okay, anyways, moving right along. My guess is why Warner Brothers got the AI system is mainly because they have almost numerous of flops last year, aside from Joker, Shazam, It Chapter 2, and 2 Conjuring movies that are hits. Maybe it's because of that, but Warner Brothers should think about it in second thoughts because of what could potentially be a disaster or a success. I don't know. My gut's telling me that maybe it's a bad idea because Warner Brothers might have better luck this year than they might screw over because of using the AI system. And I mean, then again, there is also another thing that it would consider is also the factor that maybe maybe it wouldn't necessarily be something that they would immediately release on the big screen, but it did mention that there is a possibility it could also detect if something can be good for either on the big screen or for HBO Max. There is that possibility as well. I'll go and read one more comment before we're going to jump on to the next one. Let's see here. Let's see. I think Minecraft the movie could work great for Warner Animation Group, but I don't like the system they are going with. I think it's terrible, but not worse than the Kappa system. At least we won't get fined by Warner Brothers. Alright, whatever you say, dude. Alright, and now it is time that we are going to jump onto the grand finale. And oh boy, this is going to be a real interesting one to go and talk about. Because what we are going to be discussing will be a bonus miscellaneous. Instead of talking about movies and stuff like that, we are going to be focusing here on video games. And we are going to be discussing one that I am full on playing, that I'm having a lot of fun with, Pokemon. More specifically with Pokemon Sword and Shield. So far, I am having a blast with the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've played it throughout most of the holidays and even throughout this week as well. I'm having a great time. I've pretty much beat the narrative of the game, and I'm still going at it, collecting all the Pokemon and training them and trying to make a great competitive group. And I might have had a little crush on Sonia, but that's another story. But overall, I am really enjoying Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it's already up there as one of my favorite Switch games, like right up there with Smash, with Mario Odyssey, and Breath of the Wild. However, this week, it looks like we did get a little bit more news with what is to come when it comes to the franchise in general, and a lot more with Sword and Shield. It may be released at the end of 2019, but 2020 will definitely be quite a significant year for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And what I'm talking, of course, is going to be regarding the Pokémon Direct. Yes, this week Nintendo has released a 20-minute Pokémon Direct that is only 20 minutes long, but did reveal a lot of significant updates with what's going to be happening with the franchise. Now, to go and start things off, they have begun the Direct by revealing that there is going to be a franchise within the world of Pokemon that is coming back after numerous of years. Yes, we are going to see the grand return of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But we're not necessarily going to get a new game with this, but instead, what we have here is going to be a remake. This is actually a remake of the first game that was released back in 2006, which is called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, which does take elements from both the first games and combine them into one into this all-new Switch game. And that is going to be coming out on March 6th. However, right now, you can actually go and download a free demo of the game, and whatever progress you have already done on the demo, when the game will be coming out, you can actually continue from where you left off in that demo. So it's actually pretty good. But that's just your little appetizer. That's just the little piece of salad or soup before the main attraction, before the big entree of what they really want to talk about, and that is actually going to be regarding something new that will come to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, if you guys know about the Pokemon games, if you are familiar with the main lineup of Pokemon games, you know that what they usually do is that first, they would go and release a couple of set of new Pokemon games. And then down the line, maybe like a year or two later, they would go and release a new edition of that game, but they would go and add in some graphical bonuses, or they would add in some narrative bonuses, or they would add a whole bunch of new things onto that game, you know, to make like a bit of an elevated version of what was released before. Like a good example of what I mean is that when they released Ruby and Sapphire, they would then go and release Pokemon Emerald. Or when they released Diamond and Pearl, they would then go and release Platinum. Or a recent example of what they did, when they released Pokemon Sun and Moon, they would then go and release Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. This time, however, they are not doing that. They decided to do something a little bit different. Instead of creating a brand new game with a few bonuses, they are going to take those bonuses and put it in the already existing game as DLC. Yes, the big thing they have revealed is Pokemon is the expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, for this expansion pass, they have promised a whole bunch of new things that are going to be coming. They have revealed there's going to be, of course, new environments that you're going to meet, new characters you'll encounter, but especially, you'll be able to get a whole bunch, like, more than 100 new pieces of clothing that you can customize your avatar with, and of course, around 200 Pokemon that have never been in Sword and Shield that are now going to be coming back. Some of them are going to be brand new, by the way. Some of them are going to, well, there are going to be some brand new Pokemon, of course, but there are also going to be Galarian forms of older Pokemon. And one example that I can bring up, actually, let me go and find it if I can see where it is. Yes, it's going to be somewhere over here. Let this little video load. By the way, I'm just going to be showing little clips directly from the Pokemon Direct. Maybe a little bit of just a refresh, just to... Yeah, there we go. Okay. Just want to show you a little clip. Here it is. Here's the boy. Yes, one new Galarian form Pokemon that they have revealed is, where is he? Come on, show us. There he is! There's the guy! Yes, it's a Galarian Slowpoke! Look at this guy. So basically, what we have here is a Galarian Slowpoke, and the big difference is that it is a regular Slowpoke, except, right now, it's just, Slowpoke has a splotch of yellow on its head, and on its tail as well. And instead of being psychic water, this Slowpoke is actually psychic. And by the way, yes, even though they didn't reveal the look of it, they do promise that there will also be a Galarian Slowbro and Galarian Slowking that they will reveal in the future. Now, that's kind of the main thing about the expansion pass that they have revealed. But with the expansion pass, throughout 2020, they will also reveal 2 new things, or 2 new modes, or what can I say? I can't really say. Okay, expansions, actually, yeah, the best way to put them. They are going to put in 2 new expansions in order to spread out these new things. The first of which is going to be called Isle of Armor, and I'll go and read this a little bit about what it is through my source here on GameSpot. As it states here, the point of it is that players will encounter a few never-before-seen characters on the Isle of Armor, such as Mustard, a former Pokemon League champion and Leon's mentor. Training under Mustard on the Isle of Armor is a new rival character who will differ depending on which version you're playing. And by the way, just to go and help out to show you who some of these characters are, first off, we got Mustard. This guy over here. And honestly, it's hard to really ignore the one elephant in the room, the one problem with this guy. Why the fridge are you calling him Mustard? Like, I get it. Like, the whole point of Isle of Armor is that, like, you're entering in this dojo and you're going into the area where the champion Leon, where he trained to become a champion, and you're going to meet his mentor, which is Mustard. Why are you calling him Mustard? It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. I still got to get used to it, but it's just, why? What's the creative decision on that? Out of all the names that you can call a master dojo, you went with frickin' Mustard. Why Mustard? I hope they do explain that in the game, honestly, because you cannot just walk away and call your old dojo master frickin' Mustard. But going back a little bit to what I was talking about, yes, there will be some new rivals that you are going to go and actually meet. And depending on the game that you have, they will differ from one another. Now, the specific thing about these rivals, however, is that they both share a similar theme where they both focus on one type of Pokemon, and they both one day wish to be gym leaders. If you play Pokemon Sword, then you would play the Poison-type trainer Clara, and if you play Shield, then you'll meet the Psychic-type trainer Avery. And to show you who these characters are, first of all, here, I'll go in a little bit at the end because you'll get a better understanding of who these characters are. Yeah, it's like right over here. So first off, like, yeah, eventually, like, you would actually meet them in the game. And here is Clara, the poison-type trainer, and even I gotta admit, like, wow, she's hot. I'm not gonna lie, Clara is one heck of a cutie. I mean, like, she's not gonna replace Sonia, but, ooh, she is close. She got curves for days. Oh boy, like, I could, honestly, like, I could go further, but then again, I might end up sounding a little bit perverted, but, and I do apologize if any of that would put you off, but, ooh, man, she's a cutie. I'll definitely put her at that. And some people are stating that she's already Rule 34, which, not surprising, which does remind me, like, with Clara and the fact that she's already Rule 34, it's an important thing to remind you now to please go and support your local not safe for work artists, because they definitely do work hard in order to entice your horniness. Yeah, I'm not, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm not afraid to go into my little down and dirty side, and yeah, I mean, like, I do support not safe for work artists, or artists that do more lustful artwork or more lustful fan art. I'm not gonna lie, so yeah, I can be a little more of a fan of that. Let's see now. So yeah, this is Clara, the little cutie here. But then you also got Avery, which is the psychic type, and yeah, this is this is a dapper lady, an undeniably dapper lady with a very tall top hat, and even Pokeballs just flying around her head, which is very convenient. If you have no other place, no other room for your Pokeballs, just have them float around your head. Learn ESP, and then just like float around, just have them float around your head. So those are the characters that you would meet. But, okay, like, those are the people. That doesn't necessarily matter. The question is, though, what about the Pokemon that you meet? Like, what's the significance about the Pokemon that you would end up encountering there? Well, there is one legendary Pokemon that they would go and highlight onto this. And, again, I'm going to read a little bit more onto here. The theme, it says here that the theme of this expansion is growth. Among the new Pokemon players can discover here is the new legendary Cubfu, a fighting type bear that can evolve into Urshifu. Urshifu has two possible forms, single strike style or rapid strike style. The former is a fighting dark type, while the latter is fighting water. Each of Urshifu's forms is also able to Gigantamax. So to give you guys a little bit of a visual example, here is Cubfu, which is, this is like a little angry panda, or not a panda, it's just a really angry bear. And then here is Urshifu, where you got the single strike form, and you also got the rapid strike form, which I wouldn't be surprised if you can only get one or the other, depending on which game that you have, either for Sword and Shield. So that's the legendary that you would have. And then, of course, you also got the major Galarian forms. Oh, with that freaky face. Yeah, right here. The big forms that they got. And each of them, of course, they would have their own unique move whenever they're Gigantamax, which is like turning into freaking giants. So, you know, honestly, it is an interesting take. I am surprised that with the theme of Sword and Shield and then with armor that they went with a more Kung Fu themed legendary Pokemon. Like, we definitely got a lot of Kung Fu themed Pokemon or martial arts themed Pokemon, but never in the form of legendaries. So, these guys will definitely be interesting. Oh, and I definitely cannot forget to mention that we do have some brand new Gigantamax forms. That we do have Pokemon that we're all familiar with, that when they become Gigantamax, they have some brand new forms. And here we have some right over here, and it is exciting to go and reveal what they have. First of all, let's go and start things off with Rillaboom, the grass-type gorilla with the drums. Hold on, we need a better example. Okay, yeah. Check it out. This is Rillaboom right over here. When he is Gigantamax, what happens is that now he has a major drum set. His drum set has grown huge, and even his hair has grown huge, to the point that now they become arms where they all have some drumsticks on them. So now Rillaboom has an epic drum kit. So honestly, his Gigantamax form, I gotta admit, is actually pretty epic. And then... do we see some of the others as well? Okay, yeah, okay, here's another one. This is Cinderace, the fire-type bunny Pokemon. And what happens with Cinderace is that he does get gigantic ears. His ears are much longer than his whole body. But the big thing is that he is standing on a giant fireball. And this fireball literally has his face on it. So the one thing you have to be careful is not Cinderace, it's the giant freaking fireball. But the one that really got a lot of people talking, though, is Inteleon. Because with Inteleon, the thing is that he doesn't necessarily Gigantamax. He ends up getting a giant sniper tower. And on top of that, he gains a gun. That's the big significance of it, is that he doesn't become big, he just gets a giant tower where he's on a very high platform, and he has a freaking sniper rifle. That's the big update on it. For those of you who wish to have Pokemon Gun, to stick with the theme of sword, shield, and then gun, well, your wish suddenly came true. Here is your Pokemon Gun with freaking Inteleon. You know, ready with his freaking sniper, and I wouldn't be surprised if he also has a move where he's just gonna chuck out some Girardi at people. Why not? Screw Pokemon Sword and Shield. We're just gonna turn this into a Pokemon-themed Team Fortress 2 game. So that's kind of the big thing with these Gigantamax Pokemon. Oh, but hold on a sec. These aren't the only starters that would get Gigantamax, however. There are a few others, and I'm sure even if you're not playing the Pokemon games, you are familiar with these guys. We actually got, hold on a sec, build up, Venusaur and Blastoise. We already got Charizard having a Gigantamax form, but now they too will also have a Gigantamax version. These include with Venusaur right over here. Here is Venusaur, and his upgrade is that somehow it's like he has a lot more hair, and his plant, the plant on his back has grown way too big. Now it's just almost covering his entire face, and it gave him this mop cut. It kind of gave him this mop-top cut, where now it's just like his plant is too big. The plant is too huge for Venusaur. But then you also got Blastoise, and Blastoise became a freaking mountain. And his back, his shell, is a full-on artillery. Like, you got guns coming out of everywhere. He is ready to freaking rumble. He is gonna give you the hydro pump of a lifetime. So that's the big, overall, that's pretty much all the big things to go and emphasize on Isle of Armor. But then there is also the second one, the second expansion that would be coming out much later by the end of 2020, and that's going to be called the Crown Tundra. And in the Crown Tundra, just to read you a little bit here, the second expansion, the Crown Tundra, will follow sometime this fall. The theme of this expansion is exploration, and it is set in a new Arctic area of the Galar region called the Crown Tundra. This area is likewise home to a variety of new and returning Pokemon, such as the new grass psychic type Calyrex. And I'll give you a little example of what Calyrex looks like. And I just gotta say right now, where is that thing? Here he is, folks. This is the Calyrex, if this video can freaking load in the first place. Yep, here it is. This is Calyrex. This is the Pokemon. It's a little deer kind of Pokemon thing with a giant bull, with like a giant berry on its head. That's Calyrex for you. And I'm not gonna lie, even if I haven't played it yet, I can already tell that Calyrex is already one of my least favorite legendary Pokemon. It's just, number one, it kind of has this blank, emotionless stare that kind of gives me the creeps. But also the design of it, I don't know, I just feel like it's terrible. Because, like, I've already mentioned this on social media, but the thing with Calyrex is that Calyrex looks like what that one douchebag thinks of himself when he believes that he is smarter than everyone in the room. Like, you could definitely tell that Calyrex is the type of Pokemon that looks at all the other Pokemon and thinks like, you simple-minded fools just don't know anything at all. You need to be galaxy brain like me to understand what the subject of this matter is. I know everything there is to it compared to you simpletons. Like, that's basically what Calyrex is. It's the douchebag that thinks he thinks he's much smarter than everyone else. And already I hate this thing. Like, honestly, and plus the fact that, like, oh, it's a grass psychic type. We already got Celebi taking that position, so we don't freaking need you. Honestly, not, so yeah, overall, I'm not a fan of Calyrex. But the interesting thing about the Crown Tundra, though, is the fact that you would actually go and explore within the dens that actually does make the max raid battles. Whenever you would go and fight a giant Pokemon, now you can go deep into what's been causing all this. And the big thing to go and emphasize about the Crown Tundra is that not only it brings back some old Pokemon that haven't been on Sword and Shield yet, but the main thing is that they are bringing back the legendary Pokemon. if you miss playing with Pokemon like Mewtwo, Lugia, Ho-Oh, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, Deoxys, or even some of the recent ones like Soliago or whichever, or like Palkia and Dialga and stuff like that, you can actually go and play them and get them in the Crown Tundra, on top of some new other legendaries as well, based on some of the older ones. It ain't just Calyrex that's the main legendary here. We also have, believe it or not, new legendary Regis. Now, you may recall, if you play Pokemon, then you're probably familiar with the Regi Pokemon, or you're probably familiar with the 5 main Regis. You know about Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regigigas, and Regifizeme. But now, we got some more Regi Pokemon that we have never seen before. Just to go and highlight, just need to find, where are they? That is actually a good question. No, it's not over here. I thought they would be, like, in a place that's easy to find, but, hold on a sec. Where are they? God dang it. Hold on. Okay, I think it's somewhere, yeah, okay. Probably somewhere over here. I just need to let the clip play a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's nice, that's nice. Oh, there we go. Here we are. All right, now we got a brand new, apparently, now we got a brand new electric type Regi Pokemon. And then following afterwards, we also got another one, what seems to be either a ghost or a dark type Regi Pokemon. It's not confirmed. They've only teased it, but we don't fully know. But it's not just the Regis that are making a comeback. It's also the original legendary birds, one of the first legendary Pokemon. They are coming back in a brand new way. Yes, we are getting Galarian legendary type Pokemons, and my god, how awesome they look. You just gotta see them. Oh, they were there the whole time. What the fridge? But then we also got, check this out, we got a brand new Moltres, which now is like black and pink, which is like a fully sinister looking Moltres right now. And then we got another one. My god, this is one of the best Galarian forms I've seen of a Pokemon. This is Articuno. It looks fully epic. It almost looks like an X-Men even. My god, like this is such a beautiful upgrade. Probably one of my most anticipated legendary Pokemon coming out of the expansions. And then of course we also got Zapdos, in which they decided to turn Zapdos more into an ostrich or an emu, where it's less about the flying, but my god, Zapdos got them legs for days. Where Clara has chest, Zapdos has legs. So that's basically the main thing to really go and expand upon the Crown Tundra. So not only are you going to meet the old legendaries, but you're also going to meet some new legendaries as well. And that is the basic thing to go and fully announce with all the big news coming from Pokemon Direct. There have been some other little announcements as well, including Pokemon Home, which they stated is going to be coming out sometime in February, which is next month, and a few other small announcements at the same time. But one thing that I would like to comment regarding the expansion pass and regarding what we've gotten with Pokemon Direct, to be very honest, I could not be more happy with the announcements that they have done, especially with what they are doing with the expansion pass, because as a longtime Pokemon player, one thing I wasn't necessarily too keen on what they have been doing is when they would go and release the new versions of what was already done before. Like, I'll be honest, I wasn't that big of a fan of stuff like Emerald or Platinum or Ultra Sun and Moon and stuff, mainly because those games are pretty much telling you to restart everything that you have already established before. That I've already spent literally hundreds of hours on games like Pokemon Ruby or Pokemon Diamond or Pokemon Sun, and then they're telling me I have to do all that over again, but with a few additional new features. Even when I was a kid playing them, I was like, well, really, what's the point of this? Like, why should I go and, like, play, you know, like, what's the point of, like, doing what I've already done before? But with the expansion pass, what it's basically promising us is that it's like we're getting the new edition of those games, but we get to keep the original games that we already established. We can already keep the hours of progress that we have already put onto those games, that we don't have to restart from the top, that we can already have like all the items and the Pokemon and like the Pokedex data that we've already collected from before, but now we can add some new things onto it. And that I am entirely thankful for. I am so glad that they are taking a new step in the right direction with this. And one thing I would like to emphasize, however, is that the price. I almost forgot to go and mention that, because so far, the price that they are putting it is about half the cost of the actual game itself. Where the games are like $60 each, the new expansion pass will be $30. And I'm gonna be honest, I know that there are some people who are upset and are frustrated of the fact that Pokemon is doing like DLC, and it may seem a bit like kind of an EA thing, where now you have to buy your way in order to get more Pokemon and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be very honest, and I just want to ask you, which one would you prefer? Would you rather spend half the cost to keep the game that you already have and go and expand onto that as well? Or would you rather buy an entirely new game where you have to build everything from the ground up all over again with the new extras, and you got to pay full price on it? I don't know about you, but I think the DLC is a much better alternative. I know it may seem like a hacky DLC thing by video game standards, but honestly, in terms of Pokemon, I think it is a great step in the right direction. And as a Pokemon player myself, as someone who's heavily playing Sword and Shield, I've already purchased my I've already purchased the expansion pass, so I am ready for it. I already caught my Galarian Slowpoke. I've already met Clara. So I'm all set. I'm all good with it. So overall, yeah, this is definitely for me, I feel like this is a great announcement, and I really cannot wait for both the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, in which the Isle of Armor is stated to come out this June, where Crown Tundra is going to be coming out sometime this fall. So with all that said, I would like to go and ask the chat wall, what do you guys think about the new announcements of Pokemon Sword and Shield? Are you guys happy about the expansion pass? Are you happy about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? Are you a little iffy on it? Do you want to get the expansion pass? Let me know what you all think right now. I'm sure there are going to be people who have a lot to say on this. Okay, let's see now. What the fridge? Is it just me or an Animat, or that you're becoming the next Brock? Also, Grookey evolves into a King Kong version of Animal from the Muppets. And also, Kung Fu Bears eat your heart out, Poe. And as I could say, this is not over, Bears! Am I becoming the new Brock? I mean, I guess so. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of cute characters in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and my god, Sonia has, like, completely taken my heart. And that's one thing I really love so much about Pokemon Sword and Shield, is that they really did deliver on Sonia. She's a very prominent character, and even when she appears, is, even I feel like, oh my god, Sonia, hey, how's it going? How's the research doing on the two heroes? Yeah, that's definitely great. If you need help, I'll do anything you can. But yeah, anyways, let's go and jump on to the next one. Are you familiar with Missing No from Pokemon Red and Blue? Yeah, definitely. Let's see now. Firstly, I have to tell you, Avery is a guy, not a girl. Really? I don't know. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I got to say, though, for someone who is not a big fan of Sword and Shield, these expansions look really nice, and it's great that a lot of Pokemon that were absent is coming back. Also, to quote the Mad Hatter, mustard? Well, let's be silly. Lemon, that's different. Oh my god. Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I would like to say to Leon. It's like, I've trained so hard. It is mainly because of my mentor, Mustard. Mustard? Don't let's be silly. Lemon, that's a great trainer. That's where I learned my skills to become a champion, you know. Alright, let's see now. I have not gotten my hands on Pokemon Sword and Shield, but even when I do get my hands on it, I have heard the DLC has sparked controversy. Some have said that adding the DLC into Sword and Shield makes the game more hollow than before. I heard when it was something to do with the Dexit, as it is either the Dex is removed or several additional Pokemon have been removed from it and the DLC won't really fix a thing. Yeah, I am very aware, like, yes, it is pretty much controversial, but Sword and Shield has been very controversial ever since it was announced that not all the Pokemon would appear, and for me personally, the whole Pokedex controversy is so meaningless. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, with the amount of outrage that it sparked, you'd expect that it's mainly because of something immoral that Game Freak has done, rather it be like treat their employees poorly, or they included some very racist or misogynistic messages onto the games or something like that. But no, people are angry and complaining mainly because they can't get all their Pokemon. It's mainly because, oh, I can't catch my Dunsparce in Sword and Shield. Oh, who cares, man? Like, for me, like, I'll just say, for me, I freaking don't care, and the whole controversy is meaningless. I'm having fun with Sword and Shield. I like it. I spent my money on it, and I'm glad I did. So for me, it's the whole Dexit bullcrap is meaningless. Let's see now. I've been enjoying Pokemon Sword immensely, so I will definitely get the expansion pass. It's great to see more added to the base game instead of paying $60 for only a few change. Do I go with my already overpowered team or start with a new team of Pokemon introduced in these expansions like Ash always did? Exactly. That's what I'm happy about, is that I've built up so much of my team. Heck, I've already caught two legendary Pokemon, two shiny Pokemon. Like, I already got a shiny Gyarados, and I even got a shiny Gigantamax Butterfree, both of which are even competitive ready. You know, like, if you put me in a legit in a legit tournament, I can use them, and I'm ready to come at you, bro. So I don't want to lose that, and the fact that they're giving me this expansion so I can keep those Pokemon, I am more than happy with. Let's see, I'll go and read one more comment right now. Let's see now, is there one that I haven't read yet? The expansion pass sounds cool. I'm not sure if I'll get it, but I guess it depends if there's a Gigantamax Tsaria, because I want my giant plant woman. Well, is there... That is a good question. Is there a... Yeah, I don't think they have done... Well, I don't think they have done yet Gigantamax female-looking Pokemon. Like, they didn't do, like... Oh, well, I mean, technically, there is Hatera. Technically, they have done a Gigantamax of Hatera, so that kind of counts, but... Yeah, I see, but, I see that you are a legs man, if you're really going with a Serena, there we go, okay. Yeah, but if you really are going with Serena, then I think it really does say you're more in the bottom half. You're more of an admirer of the bottom half. Where, for me personally, I'm more of the top half kind of person. But hey, either way, the female body and the male body is absolutely beautiful, no matter what shape or size it is. I mean, like, no matter what it is, it's always a beautiful thing to look at. And with that said, I think that shall conclude one epic episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and whoa! That is quite a mouthful, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming, and tune in next week because I'm sure we got a pretty crazy episode coming up, especially when in the next episode we are going to be talking about the nominations for the Oscars, so we're definitely going to keep an eye out for that. So with all that said, I would like to say thank you guys so much for watching, thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!